The Peru glowing entities have returned. On March 8, 2025, a strange and captivating piece of footage surfaced online, capturing the attention of paranormal enthusiasts and researchers around the world. The video, allegedly recorded from a home security alert on a family's phone, appears to show luminous beings moving near the property. The beings were described as emitting a faint violet glow with a particularly bright light above their heads. The family, upon receiving the alert on their phone, quickly recorded the footage from their screen and shared it with Brazilian researcher Nathan Demura, who later uploaded the video to social media. Almost immediately, the footage went viral, sparking debates over its authenticity and the true nature of the entities it seemed to reveal. The mysterious glowing figures appeared to have a translucent humanoid shape and moved in a way that some viewers described as otherworldly. Their subtle but vivid violet illumination stood out sharply against the night sky, making it hard for many to believe the footage could be explained away as a trick of light or common camera glitch. What made this incident even more intriguing is that it came only months after multiple witnesses in Peru released similar reports about unusual entities seen in their rural communities. These reports described figures with glowing features, large heads, and unusually bright eyes, strikingly similar to the beings caught on the security footage. In the rural Peruvian region of Alto Nanay, located in the northeastern part of Lima, local residents, many of whom belong to the Iquitu indigenous group, have been reporting encounters with what they describe as 7-foot-tall armored entities. According to them, these beings have been appearing regularly since July 11th, often emerging under the cover of darkness. The creatures are said to have large, disproportionate heads and glowing yellow eyes. Some residents even claim these beings possess advanced technology, including spherical footwear that emits red light and allows them to hover or float above the ground. The situation in Alto Nanay has grown increasingly dire. Villagers report living in a constant state of fear following a disturbing incident in which a woman was allegedly attacked by one of the entities. According to her account, she was approached from behind and received a laceration on her neck after resisting the creature. This violent encounter has heightened the tension in the area and driven the community to seek help. Many have turned to the Peruvian military, demanding intervention to protect their homes and families from what they believe are not of this world. Adding credibility to their claims, a short video was released that allegedly captured one of the nighttime attacks. In the footage, viewers can make out a vaguely humanoid figure moving quickly through the darkness. Some who analyzed the video noted that the entity's movements seemed insect-like, suggesting it may not be human at all. This has led to widespread speculation that the villagers are dealing with something far beyond normal understanding, possibly even extraterrestrial. The release of the glowing entity footage in March has added a new layer to the unfolding mystery. With more people coming forward and sharing similar images and accounts, the phenomenon appears to be gaining momentum. Hiker reports their walk was disrupted by a Bigfoot. A recent photograph shared online by an American hiker has reignited interest in one of North America's most enduring mysteries, Bigfoot. The image, which has been circulated widely through social media and Bigfoot investigation forums, was reportedly taken during a solo hike in the Pacific Midwest, a region long considered a hotspot for sightings of the elusive creature. According to the hiker, whose identity remains anonymous, the hike came to an abrupt halt after a startling and close encounter with a large humanoid figure crouching behind a rock formation deep in the wilderness. The hiker recounted that while navigating a secluded trail, a strange presence caught their attention. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than a shadow or trick of the light. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that something, or someone, was partially concealed behind a boulder. The hiker quickly took a photograph before retreating, sensing that what they had encountered was not human. The figure, they claimed, had proportions and movements that were distinctly non-human, with a broad, muscular upper body and powerful arms that hung at its sides in an unnatural, low-slung posture. In the photograph, the creature's upper torso can be seen rising above the rock, its form bulky and almost blending into the rugged surroundings. Observers have noted that its skin or fur appears to be coated in mud or dirt, which may serve as natural camouflage. The face, although somewhat obscured by shadow, is partially visible, with a brow ridge and deep-set eyes that several viewers found unsettling in their human-like appearance. The image has caused a wave of excitement and debate among enthusiasts and skeptics alike, with many saying it is one of the clearest recent captures of a possible Bigfoot. What sets this image apart from many others is not just the proximity of the subject, but also the clarity with which certain features are visible. While much Bigfoot imagery remains blurry or inconclusive, this photograph has drawn praise for the detail it provides, particularly in the creature's head and shoulders. Members of various Bigfoot groups have pointed out that the creature's size and build do not match those of a bear or any other known animal native to the region, reinforcing the belief that the hiker may have captured something extraordinary. The Pacific Midwest has a long history of Bigfoot sightings, with dense forests, rocky terrain, and remote hiking trails offering the perfect setting for such encounters. For decades, eyewitnesses have reported large, hairy bipeds moving through the woods, often accompanied by strange sounds or eerie silences. This most recent sighting only adds to the lore, offering a compelling visual to back up the countless stories shared over the years. While some argue that the image could be a misidentified animal, a costume, or even a hoax, the hiker insists on the authenticity of the moment. The sense of unease, the quickness of the encounter, and the unmistakable presence of something unusual have left a lasting impression. Whether the figure in the photograph is truly Bigfoot remains to be proven, but the mystery, as always, continues to captivate the imagination. The comparison between human and Denisovan teeth. Recent discoveries from a remote cave in Siberia have shed remarkable new light on one of humanity's most mysterious relatives, the Denisovans. In a paper published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, an international team of researchers from Germany, Canada, and Russia has revealed that Denisovans possessed extraordinarily large and distinct teeth, unlike those of either modern humans or their better-known cousins, the Neanderthals. These findings are adding fresh insight into the physical characteristics, geographic range, and genetic influence of a mysterious branch of the human family tree that vanished thousands of years ago. The Denisovans were first identified in 2010 when scientists analyzed DNA extracted from a finger bone found in Denisova Cave, located in the Altai Mountains of Siberia. The genome of that specimen, a young girl, showed that the Denisovans were a separate lineage, distinct from both modern humans and Neanderthals. Since then, additional studies have shown that the Denisovans interbred with early modern humans, leaving behind a legacy in the DNA of contemporary populations. Approximately 5% of the DNA of people from Papua New Guinea and Australia, and a smaller percentage among Asians and Native Americans, is of Denisovan origin. The new research focuses on 2 Denisovan molars recovered from the same cave. These teeth, both belonging to adult males, are described as massive and anatomically unusual. While initial fragments of the first tooth seemed to resemble human teeth, further excavation revealed its full size and unusual morphology, leading researchers to conclude that they were dealing with something unlike any previously known hominin. Bence Viola, a paleoanthropologist from the University of Toronto and co-author of the study, was present at the site when the first fragment was uncovered. At first, Viola thought the tooth appeared remarkably human. However, as more of the tooth was revealed, it became clear that it was too large and too oddly shaped to belong to a modern human or even a Neanderthal. DNA extracted from the molars confirmed their Denisovan origin, and further analysis revealed they came from 2 different individuals. The teeth provided not only genetic material, but also important clues about Denisovan biology and their geographic spread. The researchers suggest that the Denisovans were not simply a small, isolated group confined to the Siberian mountains. Rather, they likely inhabited a vast area of Asia for tens of thousands of years, adapting to diverse climates and environments. This growing body of evidence has transformed the Denisovans from a mere genetic curiosity into a vital piece of the human story. Their interactions with other archaic humans and modern humans demonstrate a complex pattern of migration, adaptation, and interbreeding. The unusual teeth discovered in Denisova Cave are more than just relics of the past. They are tangible links to an ancient lineage whose echoes still resonate in the DNA of people living today. As researchers continue to analyze the remains and uncover more about these mysterious ancestors, the Denisovans are slowly emerging from the shadows of prehistory. In September 2018, a peculiar event caught the attention of the global community: the sudden and unexplained closure of the Sunspot Solar Observatory in New Mexico. The event sparked widespread speculation, particularly because it coincided with reports from amateur sky watchers of unidentified flying objects near the Sun. However, what many did not know at the time was that this was not an isolated incident. 6 more solar observatories around the world were also mysteriously shut down around the same time. The Sunspot Solar Observatory, located in New Mexico, was abruptly evacuated and closed by federal authorities on September 6, 2018. The closure lasted for about 10 days, during which time little information was released to the public. This secrecy led to rampant speculation, with theories ranging from national security threats to mysterious encounters. The official explanation given by the FBI was vague, citing a security issue, but many found this unsatisfactory, given the lack of specific details. What made this event even more intriguing was the fact that 6 additional solar observatories across the globe were also reportedly shut down around the same time. These observatories, located in Spain, Australia, and Hawaii, among other places, were all involved in monitoring solar activity. The simultaneous closure of these facilities, particularly in the context of the Sunspot incident, led to a wave of interesting theories and further fueled public interest in the events. While these observatories were being shut down, amateur skywatchers and astronomers began reporting unusual activity near the Sun. While authorities offered little information, a local resident named Maria made an extraordinary claim that added fuel to the fire. She had photographed a massive disc-shaped craft near the Sun, surrounded by what appeared to be hundreds of smaller objects. The observatory, known for its solar research, had been monitoring the Sun's activity for years. The timing of its sudden closure, coupled with the lack of a clear explanation, led many to believe that something extraordinary had been observed. It was against this backdrop of intrigue and uncertainty that Maria's remarkable sighting came to light. Maria was an amateur astronomer who often spent her evenings observing the night sky. On the day of the observatory's closure, she was outside with her telescope, scanning the skies as she often did. As the sun began to set, Maria noticed something unusual: a massive, disc-shaped object hovering near the Sun. The object was enormous, dwarfing anything she had ever seen in the sky before. It had a distinct metallic appearance and was perfectly round, resembling the classic shape of a flying saucer. What made the sighting even more extraordinary was the presence of hundreds of smaller objects surrounding the large disk. These smaller objects appeared to be moving in a coordinated fashion, almost as if they were accompanying or protecting the larger craft. Acting quickly, Maria grabbed her camera and managed to capture several photographs of the strange sight. The images showed the massive disc-shaped craft near the Sun, with the smaller objects clearly visible around it. The photographs were sharp and detailed, showing the craft's metallic sheen and the distinct shapes of the smaller objects. Maria, initially hesitant to share her findings, eventually decided to post the photographs online, where they quickly went viral. The images sparked a wave of interest and debate, with some hailing them as definitive proof of advanced activity, while others remained skeptical, suggesting possible explanations ranging from camera artifacts to natural phenomena. The most popular theory among those who viewed Maria's photographs was that the large disc-shaped object and its smaller companions were extraterrestrial in origin. The timing of the sighting, coinciding with the mysterious shutdown of the Sunspot Solar Observatory, led many to believe that the observatory had detected something extraordinary, perhaps even an alien spacecraft, prompting its sudden closure. Proponents of this theory pointed to the object's size, shape, and apparent metallic composition as evidence that it was not of this world. The coordinated movement of the smaller objects suggested advanced technology, possibly a fleet of smaller spacecraft or drones accompanying the larger craft. The fact that the objects were observed near the Sun raised further questions about their purpose and origin, with some speculating that they were harvesting solar energy or observing solar activity. Using telescopes equipped with special filters to observe the Sun safely, these individuals captured images and videos of what appeared to be unidentified flying objects close to the Sun. These objects, often described as spherical or disc-shaped, were seen hovering near or even entering the Sun's corona. The timing of these sightings with the observatory shutdowns raised eyebrows, leading many to wonder if the two events were connected. There are several theories as to why these observatories were shut down and how it might relate to the reported UFO sightings. One theory suggests that the observatories may have captured images of something near the Sun that authorities did not want to be made public. This could include classified military technology or, as some believe, evidence of extraterrestrial activity. Another theory posits that the shutdowns were a precautionary measure due to a potential security breach or cyber attack targeting these sensitive scientific facilities. Some skeptics argue that the observatory closures were unrelated to the UFO sightings and that the timing was merely coincidental. The secrecy surrounding the observatory shutdowns and the vague explanations provided by authorities have led to a decline in public trust. When events of this nature occur without clear communication, it creates a fertile ground for theories to flourish. The lack of transparency has also fueled fears that governments are hiding important information from the public, whether about national security threats or extraterrestrial life. The possibility that the observatory shutdowns were connected to the detection of UFOs near the Sun has reinvigorated interest in the search for extraterrestrial life. While the idea of alien spacecraft near the Sun may seem far-fetched, the discovery of exoplanets and the ongoing search for biosignatures in distant star systems have made the question of life beyond Earth more scientifically relevant than ever before. If the observatories did indeed capture something unusual, it could represent a significant development in our understanding of the universe. Over the past few decades, the advancement of technology has allowed amateur astronomers to capture increasingly detailed images of the Sun. Using telescopes equipped with special filters to safely observe the Sun, some enthusiasts have reported seeing strange objects in close proximity to our star. These objects often appear as dark or bright spots against the Sun's surface or corona, moving in ways that do not correspond to known celestial bodies or solar phenomena. One of the most striking aspects of these sightings is the size and speed of the objects. Some reports describe them as being massive, with estimates suggesting that they could be several kilometers in diameter. Others have noted that these objects appear to change direction rapidly, exhibiting behaviors that seem to defy the laws of physics as we currently understand them. Such characteristics have led to widespread speculation about their origins and purpose. In addition to amateur observations, some of the most compelling evidence of UFOs near the Sun comes from data collected by NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. Launched in 1995, NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory has been instrumental in monitoring the Sun's activity, providing real-time images of solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and other solar events. However, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory has also captured images of unexplained objects near the Sun, sparking debates within the scientific community and among UFO enthusiasts. These images often show bright, disc-shaped objects or elongated shapes that seem to hover near the Sun or pass by at high speeds. Some appear to be stationary, while others move in straight or curved paths. The fact that these objects are detected by a sophisticated space observatory adds a layer of credibility to the sightings, although NASA has often attributed them to camera artifacts, cosmic rays, or debris. Researchers interested in the unknown have suggested that these objects are extraterrestrial spacecraft or probes. Given the Sun's importance as the center of our solar system, it is conceivable that an advanced alien civilization might be interested in studying it. The proximity of these objects to the Sun could suggest that they are harvesting solar energy, observing solar phenomena, or even conducting experiments on a scale far beyond human capability. Proponents of the extraterrestrial hypothesis point to the apparent size, speed, and maneuverability of these objects as evidence that they are not of human origin. The fact that they appear to withstand the extreme heat and radiation of the Sun's corona also suggests advanced technology that surpasses anything currently known to humanity. The sightings of UFOs near the Sun challenge our understanding of the universe and highlight the limitations of human knowledge. Whether these objects are the result of natural phenomena, advanced technology, or something else entirely, they remind us that there is still much we do not know about our solar system and the cosmos at large. The study of these phenomena could lead to new insights into the nature of space and the forces that govern it. The Apollo program, which culminated in the historic moon landing of Apollo 11 in 1969, is perhaps NASA's most celebrated achievement. However, the Apollo missions also generated some of the most intriguing UFO reports in NASA's history. Multiple Apollo astronauts reported seeing unexplained objects during their missions. One of the most famous incidents occurred during the Apollo 11 mission. During their mission, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins reported seeing a mysterious object trailing their spacecraft. Submarine USS Connecticut struck an unidentified submerged object. A United States nuclear submarine incurred damage, and several crew members were injured after it collided with an unidentified submerged object while operating at a significant depth in the South China Sea. According to U.S. defense sources, the accident took place in the South China Sea, which is one of two adjacent bodies of water where the U.S. and its allies have consistently disputed China's territorial claims. China has requested additional details regarding the U.S. Navy incident that occurred in the vicinity of its eastern coastline. According to officials, 2 crew members experienced injuries of a moderate kind, while several others had minor bumps and bruises. Every individual received medical attention on the ship, and no one was evacuated from the submarine. According to the Navy statement, the submarine, which is one of nearly 70 in the United States Navy's fleet that is fueled by nuclear energy, is currently in a secure and steady state. The nuclear propulsion system and its associated regions were unaffected and continue to function at full capacity. According to US sources, the attack submarine's armament systems remained intact and undamaged. The Navy stated that it is currently evaluating the extent of damage to the rest of the submarine and will conduct an investigation into the incident. Many theorized that the submarine hit an unidentified submerged object, something that military officials often talk about. Unidentified submerged objects represent one of the most intriguing and least understood phenomena in the study of the unknown. Often overshadowed by their airborne counterparts, UFOs, USOs are objects or phenomena observed beneath water that defy explanation. These sightings occur in oceans, lakes, and other bodies of water, and have been reported by credible witnesses, including naval personnel, fishermen, and recreational boaters. The mystery of USOs raises profound questions about the nature of these objects, their origins, and what secrets might lie beneath the surface of our world's waters. Reports of mysterious objects and lights beneath the water surface are not a recent phenomenon. Historical accounts suggest that USOs have been observed for centuries. Ancient mariners often reported strange lights moving under the sea or witnessing objects emerging from the depths. These early sightings were often dismissed as folklore or misinterpretations of natural phenomena, but they laid the groundwork for modern interest in USOs. In the 20th and 21st centuries, reports of USOs have continued to emerge, often involving highly credible witnesses and advanced technology. Many of these sightings have been made by naval personnel who are trained to observe and report unusual occurrences with precision. For example, in 1963, the crew of a US Navy submarine reported detecting an object traveling at an incredible speed underwater, far faster than any known submarine could achieve. The object was tracked for several days, but its origin and nature remain unknown. In recent years, the advent of advanced sonar and underwater surveillance technology has led to an increase in USO reports. These technologies have detected objects moving at extraordinary speeds and displaying maneuvers that defy the capabilities of known human-made submarines or aquatic vehicles. These observations have fueled speculation about the origins of USOs and their potential connection to UFOs. Theorn of the least explored environments on the planet. Advancements in underwater exploration technology could provide new insights into the nature of USOs and help unravel the mysteries they present. 2 mysterious crop circles appear overnight in Hampshire, England. The first crop circle appeared on the 28th of July 2024 in Stoke Charity, a small village near Sutton Scotney in Hampshire. Overnight, in the middle of a wheat field, a perfectly formed crop circle had appeared, but this was no ordinary crop circle. Unlike the traditional circular patterns that have been associated with crop circles since they first gained attention in the 1970s, this formation was distinctively different. It was a circular pattern featuring a cube-shaped wave design at its center. The appearance of this crop circle has sparked widespread curiosity and debate, raising questions about its origin, meaning, and implications. The discovery of the crop circle in Stoke Charity came as a surprise to both the landowner and the local community. The field had been undisturbed the previous day, with no signs of unusual activity. However, by dawn, the crop had been carefully flattened to create a complex and symmetrical pattern that covered a large area of the field. The formation was circular in shape, with an intricate cube design nested perfectly within the circle. The precision and scale of the crop circle were immediately apparent, leading many to speculate on how such a design could have been created so quickly and without anyone noticing. Photographs of the crop circle were quickly shared on social media, attracting the attention of crop circle enthusiasts, researchers, and the curious public. As news of the phenomenon spread, people from across the country began to visit the site, eager to see the formation for themselves and to try to understand how and why it had appeared. What sets the Stoke Charity crop circle apart from many others is its unique design. The complexity of the design suggests a high level of skill and planning, leading some to speculate that it could not have been created by human hands alone, especially under the cover of darkness. The precision with which the crop was flattened, without damaging the surrounding areas, further adds to the mystery. As with most crop circles, the appearance of the circular cube-shaped formation in Stoke Charity has led to a variety of theories about its origin. The second crop circle appeared in Etchellhampton, a small village in Wiltshire. This crop circle, which materialized overnight, has become the subject of intense interest and debate, raising questions about its origin, meaning, and the broader phenomenon of crop circles. The farmer has requested that people don't step on his land as he doesn't want any more damage done to his property. In the early morning, local farmers and residents were greeted by an astonishing sight: a massive crop circle measuring over 80 meters that had appeared in a wheat field, seemingly out of nowhere. The formation, covering a significant area, featured a large spiral pattern with a perfect circle at its center. The spiral wound outward in a precise and symmetrical fashion, creating an image that was both visually striking and geometrically complex. The crop within the spiral had been carefully flattened, with the stalks laid down in a manner that preserved the integrity of the plants, yet created a clear and defined pattern. The precision of the design, combined with its size and the fact that it had appeared overnight without any obvious signs of human activity, immediately sparked curiosity and intrigue. News of the crop circle spread quickly through the village and beyond, with people flocking to the site to see the formation for themselves. The intricate spiral design, combined with the central circle, drew comparisons to ancient symbols and mathematical patterns, leading some to speculate about its potential meaning and significance. Photographs of the crop circle were soon shared on social media, attracting the attention of crop circle researchers as well as journalists and the general public. The sudden appearance of the crop circle in Etchellhampton added to Wiltshire's reputation as a centre for unexplained phenomena, fueling further interest in the region's mysterious past and present. The spiral is one of the oldest and most universal symbols found in human culture, appearing in art, architecture, and spiritual practices across the world. It is often associated with concepts of growth, evolution, and the cyclical nature of life. In many ancient cultures, the spiral represented the journey of life, the movement of the heavens, or the unfolding of the cosmos. The central circle within the spiral can also symbolize unity, completion, or the source of creation. Given the rich symbolism of the spiral, it is not surprising that the crop circle at Etchellhampton has been the subject of various interpretations. Some see the formation as a message or a sign, perhaps related to the natural cycles of the Earth or the unfolding of cosmic events. Others view it as an artistic expression, created by unknown individuals with a deep understanding of geometry and symbolism. As with most crop circles, the question of how the spiral formation in Etchellhampton was created has led to a range of theories. These theories generally fall into two categories: those that attribute the crop circle to human activity and those that suggest a more mysterious origin. Some believe that the crop circle could be the work of extraterrestrial beings or otherworldly forces. The sudden appearance of the formation, combined with its complexity and the absence of any clear evidence of human intervention, has led some to speculate that the crop circle could be a form of communication or a marker left by visitors from another world. This theory is particularly popular among those who believe that Wiltshire's ancient monuments and ley lines might be connected to other dimensions or extraterrestrial activity. The mysterious Lonnie Zamora incident. Although there have been attempts to provide logical explanations and skeptics, claiming that the UFO sighting was a deliberate deception to bring tourists to a quiet part of New Mexico, the observed UFO landing reported by police officer Lonnie Zamora is still considered one of the most reliable encounters ever documented, and one that continues to captivate UFO researchers and investigators, even to this day, more than half a century later. Regarding the case, there is undoubtedly a wealth of material available. 3 distinct organizations would conduct investigations into the matter, which include the US Army, the FBI, and the US Air Force investigators. The occurrence was shrouded in such a level of secrecy that even J. Allen Hynek, one of the investigators who had initially doubted such accounts, underwent a complete transformation in his perspective on the matter. For numerous UFO researchers, the Zamora encounter is regarded as very plausible and potentially significant, regarding the information present at the scene itself. Furthermore, it is important to consider the potential responses of different groups and organizations following the incident. On the evening of April 24, 1964, Police Officer Sergeant Lonnie Zamora was driving quickly on a roadway in Socorro, New Mexico, in order to catch up with a car that was exceeding the speed limit. Subsequently, when the car was still a significant distance ahead, the individual perceived a loud noise and observed a burst of fire in the atmosphere. Zamora would cease his chase of the racing vehicle and proceed towards the source of the explosion, contemplating the possibility of an aeroplane landing or a detonation in a storage shack containing explosives. While observing, he witnessed a serene descent of a flame that had a bluish-orange hue. While driving, he described the flame as funnel-like, but his attention was divided between the strange thing landing and the approaching road. While approaching the location, he became aware that the sound was still perceptible. The sound was defined as a roar rather than a blast. The duration of this noise would last for around 10 further seconds and would transition from a high frequency to a low frequency. As the item descended, Zamora encountered a steep incline that his vehicle had difficulty navigating, to such an extent that it required the officer 3 tries to conquer the ascent. At this point, the fast-moving automobile had already disappeared far away. The noise has ceased. He would persist at a brisk yet unhurried speed for several additional seconds. Subsequently, he noticed a gleaming item situated adjacent to the road approximately 200 yards in front of him. Initially, Zamora held the belief that the thing situated in front of him was a car that had been turned upside down. He observed 2 individuals standing close to it, seemingly inspecting the vehicle and its environs. One individual seemed to observe his coming automobile. Each individual was wearing white coveralls. At the moment, he failed to observe any peculiarities save for their dimensions. Later, he would assert, they were either diminutive adults or substantial children. As he drew nearer, his pace somewhat reduced, he started to suspect that the vehicle was not actually flipped over. Subsequently, he characterized it as having an O form, or like an egg, with a pale hue and made of aluminium. Additionally, he observed an unusual symbol or emblem on the exterior of the spacecraft. He would promptly transmit a concise report of his current whereabouts and circumstances to the dispatch bureau. Subsequently, he halted the police car and commenced the process of disembarking from the vehicle. Shortly after exiting the car, the loud noise resumed, and simultaneously, a blue flame emerged from the bottom of the spacecraft. Initially, he experienced apprehension regarding the possibility of an explosion, prompting him to swiftly throw himself into the ground. He would proceed to the rear of his police car, maintaining visual contact with the incident ahead. The intensity of the roar progressively increased, accompanied by a simultaneous escalation in frequency. Subsequently, the item ascended vertically into the atmosphere. As the craft started to rise, he could once more observe the blue flame with an orange hue beneath it. As the craft ascended, Zamora observed that it had a distinct oval form. In addition, he was able to perceive a distinct red mark or symbol on the side of the aircraft. The facade exhibited a remarkably sleek appearance, devoid of any discernible doors or windows. Zamora started to retreat slowly, positioning the car as a barrier between himself and the ascending vehicle. Subsequently, while reaching an elevation of around 20 feet, the vehicle ceased its upward movement and remained suspended for a few moments. Anxiety started to escalate in Zamora. Anticipating the possibility of another loud noise or maybe a fire, he briefly shielded his face with his arms for a few seconds. Upon second glance, the vessel was once again progressing in a linear trajectory, distancing itself from his position. Regaining consciousness, Zamora hastily returned to the automobile and transmitted a message by radio to the operator at the police station, Nep Lopez. He instructed him to gaze through the window in order to determine if he could perceive an object above. He maintained visual contact with the swiftly diminishing aircraft as it traversed the 6-mile canyon mountain area. Shortly after the craft disappeared from sight, Sergeant Sam Chavez, who had been alerted by Zamora's radio communications, arrived at the scene. He would remark on how his colleague appeared to be really pale. Nevertheless, when he investigated the location indicated by Zamora regarding the peculiar object, he found the unusual symbols to be highly fascinating, to say the least. Both Zamora and Chavez would proceed to examine the region that was currently engulfed in flames and vegetation. Visible smoke emanated from the apparent location where something was burning. Nevertheless, there was an absence of flames and no presence of combustible materials. In addition, Chavez noticed what seemed to be 8 different imprints. 4 of the indentations had a larger and rectangular configuration, whereas the remaining 4 displayed a smaller and circular shape. Zamora later asserted that he had not observed any legs when the thing was on the ground. It would only take a few hours for the press to learn about the incident. In a matter of days, the once quiet town of Socorro quickly gained prominence as the focal point of interest for the UFO community. UFO researchers and investigators would gather in the region. Several journalists from news agencies including United Press International and Associated Press would also be there. In addition, organizations like the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization and the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena would dispatch teams to the region. In addition, the US Air Force would dispatch representatives to conduct an official investigation. Ray Stanford, an investigator from the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, was among the first to arrive at the scene. Presumably due to this reason, Stanford seemingly interviewed multiple witnesses who could support the tale before it gained widespread attention. He would unearth a report to an Albuquerque television station, which may have started to help with a timetable of sorts, and he would also find a possible witness who just so happened to be driving through the state at the time of the sighting. The resident of Albuquerque called at 5:30 in the evening to report that an oval object was approaching the town of Socorro at a very low altitude and moving very slowly for its size. Additionally, there were other witnesses who asserted vivid recollections of perceiving a distinct, boisterous sound during the approximate time when Zamora made his claim. Some individuals would even affirm having heard the second roar that Zamora alleged had taken place as he departed from his vehicle. Additionally, Stanford would discover from the Socorro police files that 3 different people had reported seeing a brilliant, shining object rising in the sky to the dispatch desk. The reports would have been received prior to any publicity of the incident. One particularly intriguing report originated from the La Madera region of New Mexico. Furthermore, the FBI would deem it appropriate to conduct an investigation. On the same day as the Zamora event, an unidentified flying object was sighted in the area. Despite ruling out the possibility of military aircraft, the nature of the item remained unknown. Subsequently, on the 26th of April, about after 1 in the morning, a neighboring inhabitant ventured outside to investigate the source of disturbance to his horses. During this encounter, the individual observed an object resembling a butane tank, descending and touching down on the ground in close proximity. Upon resuming flight, the observer vividly remembered observing a blue-white flame emanating from the lower surface of the vehicle. In addition, he would observe significant depressions on the ground, as well as multiple smaller, more circular ones. Moreover, a scorched circular area on the ground was clearly visible as the landing place for a considerable period of time. The cops at the site immediately recognized that the indentations were recently created and not pre-existing. Moreover, they were constructed to resemble the impact of a substantial item in the vicinity at an oblique angle. While Zamora was the sole police officer who directly observed the craft, several others, including Chavez, could provide ample testimony to confirm the genuineness of the incident. In addition, in Chavez's case, Zamora himself would assert that his fellow officer was experiencing a state of shock. Upon their arrival, everyone would assert that certain areas of the ground were still scorching and emitting smoke. The FBI investigation explicitly documented the presence of 4 non-conventional smoldering regions at the same site where Zamora alleged the occurrence of the incident. Chavez would additionally do a prompt and comprehensive search of the vicinity. He was unable to locate any tire tracks, except for the ones made by Zamora's vehicle. Furthermore, no other footprints were found that would indicate the presence of any other activity going to the landing spot. Prior to delving into the official military investigation, let us revisit one of the out-of-town tourists who were driving in the very location mentioned by Stanford upon his arrival. The proprietor of Whitting Brothers service station, situated in close proximity to the presumed landing site, Opal Grinder, willingly provided a statement as part of the official inquiry conducted by the US Air Force. Although he did not personally observe the incident, he was aware of 2 individuals who were traveling through the state and did witness it. He would assert that the vehicle arrived immediately following the loud explosion. The man who arrived to settle the payment for their merchandise would jokingly remark to Opal about the very low altitude at which the aeroplanes travel in this area. He responded apathetically, stating that a significant number of helicopters frequently traverse the vicinity. Moreover, it seems that the unidentified vehicle had overtaken Zamora's police car, even engaging in a conversation with Opal about it. Subsequent inquiry would ultimately uncover the identities of the mysterious individuals as Larry Kratzner, who had conversed with Opal, and his companion, Paul Keyes. Both individuals hailed from Dubuque, Iowa, and were in the process of returning to their hometown. In 1978, Ralph DeGraw, a UFO researcher, conducted interviews with the 2 men. Although he observed many inconsistencies when comparing it to Zamora's narrative and even among their own claims, considering that it had been 14 years since the occurrence and they were moving away from it, there were also some fascinating similarities that closely aligned. On April 25th, the United States military conducted an official interview with Zamora. Army Captain Richard T. Holder, the highest-ranking officer available from the neighboring White Sands base, was there, along with Arthur Burns from the FBI. Throughout the conversation, Zamora expressed his conviction that he had observed a clandestine experimental vehicle. Holder, however, promptly rejected this idea. He appeared to make a deliberate effort to inform the press that the military did not own any object that could be compared to the object described by Zamora. Shortly after the interview, Holder and Burns would promptly proceed to the purported landing site, equipped with flashlights to navigate in the darkness. The authorities would promptly establish a perimeter around the area, collecting samples and scrutinizing the charred sections of the vegetation. Researcher James E. McDonald asserted that the military secretly confiscated a sample of fused sand. He asserts that a person named Mary Mays, who is employed as a radiological chemist in the Las Vegas Public Health Service, was also present at the Socorro site on that particular evening. While conducting her duties on behalf of the US military, she made the remarkable discovery of a solid glass-like region located directly beneath the landing site. The majority of the samples she collected turned out to be sap. Nevertheless, there were numerous unidentifiable and unfamiliar organic substances. Some individuals made additional efforts to explain the incident as a result of meteorological conditions or a hot air balloon that had been affected by the wind. Nevertheless, this does not provide a satisfactory explanation for the deafening roars that were experienced by Zamora and many Socorro residents. Furthermore, it fails to elucidate the origin of the flames seen by Zamora. Alternatively, the smoke that was reported by the mystery tourists. Zamora had mentioned observing what he believed to be particles of dust swirling in the vicinity of the item. He was uncertain whether the movement was caused by the wind or if the dust was a result of the landing. Undoubtedly, Zamora himself would remember that the winds were blowing exceptionally strong that evening. Subsequent research has revealed a crucial feature that contradicts the notion that wind could have caused the movement of a balloon. All accounts indicate that the item was moving in the west-southwest direction. Nevertheless, this implies that the item would have been advancing against the opposing airflow. Clearly, this would entirely destroy the idea that a lightweight vessel was solely subject to the whims of the wind. In addition, as stated by Zamora, the object would ascend vertically. Moreover, it would remain suspended in the air for some seconds. The object's movements were not in line with those expected from anything dependent on wind strength for both direction and power. Despite extensive investigations, the Lonnie Zamora incident remains unexplained. It stands as a reminder that there are still phenomena in our world that defy easy explanation. Whether the incident was a glimpse of advanced human technology, an encounter with advanced beings, or something else entirely, it continues to provoke curiosity and debate. As of right now, the Lonnie Zamora incident is a cornerstone in the study of UFO phenomena. The detailed and consistent account provided by a reliable witness, combined with physical evidence, makes it one of the most compelling cases in UFO history. While the true nature of the encounter remains a mystery, it serves as a powerful reminder of the unknown and the need for continued exploration and open-minded investigation. Some of the most interesting events are those that we can't initially explain. Being a rancher is a hard but rewarding job. The job becomes even more difficult when your cattle start to expire under mysterious circumstances. What many people aren't aware of is that these strange circumstances have been reported for hundreds of years, and each time these cases get investigated, we get no closer to understanding what or who is doing this. Ranchers throughout the United States have come forward with their cattle stories, but said that as of right now, even officials are confused as to why this keeps happening. Due to this worrying trend, investigators wanted to examine the animals in order to better understand what was going on, and hoped that by conducting a detailed analysis of the animals, they would be able to come to a conclusive answer. Frustratingly, the extensive surveys didn't reveal anything that would indict why the cattle were expiring in the way they were, and this led to the ranchers demanding answers and more investigations into why this was happening, saying that this phenomenon has been going on now for several months throughout Colorado and Utah. One of the investigators decided to see if there were any signs of predators in the area, but surprisingly, nothing was found, and there was very little evidence to suggest that the cows had been attacked by a predator. When researchers first conducted their studies, they found that only a few cattle had expired, but as the weeks went on, the numbers started to double, something that worried the investigators as they were out of answers and evidence for why this was happening. They suggested that perhaps the cattle were being infected with some kind of bacteria, but this theory was soon put to bed when a forensic examination of the remains revealed no evidence of this. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Manager Travis Black said the following: "Teams have found no evidence that wolves were responsible. It's perplexing. We're scratching our heads a little bit. We don't know exactly what has occurred up there. We have no evidence of wolves in that area. That doesn't mean they're not there. Sometimes wolves can be difficult to locate, but this isn't being caused by the wolves." End quote. Oddly enough, 465 miles away in Kansas, the exact same thing is happening, with ranchers wanting answers for why their cattle are expiring under mysterious circumstances. One rancher said the following: "This is happening in Kansas and it's not anything new. For me, this has been happening now for the past several years, and it makes me think that someone is targeting my cattle on purpose. If I'm being honest, it makes me think that someone wants me out, and that they are doing something to these animals that isn't easy to detect. They are not being attacked in the traditional way. There's no sign of trauma or anything on the ground that would indicate that they were in pain. Whatever is happening to them seems to be an instant hit. One minute they are grazing and acting normal, then the next morning they are on the ground. It's like a switch is being turned off inside them. I've heard about the various investigations that have taken place, and I can only speak about my personal experience, and to me it feels like us ranchers are being pushed out." End quote. According to one media outlet, they reported that the bizarre event that unfolded in Kansas happened because of strong winds. Although these reports occasionally make the news, ranchers have said that very little gets done, and that they don't know what to do. One rancher said the following: "It's hard enough making a living, but when your cattle suddenly expire under mysterious circumstances, it's not just a huge blow to your business, but it's a life that gets taken and no one is held accountable. We don't know what's causing these cattle to expire the way they do. No one has got any closer to understanding how this happens, and no evidence has been presented that provides proof as to why this keeps happening. We have no one to turn to in these matters, and each time we are being told that other animals are causing this when we know this isn't the case. This happened to my friend on his ranch. As he was driving to a separate part of his field, he drove past a small group of his cattle that were sticking close to one another. As he drove over a hill, they were no longer in his sight, but after driving back approximately an hour later, one of his cattle was on the ground, and it had a small section of its face removed. He said that his ranch is completely open, and this allows you to have a good view of everything around the property. But what confused him was that during this small time period, nothing made its way onto the property. There were no tracks left in the dirt, no animal footprints, and no spillages around the area which would help indicate which way the culprit went. He can't explain how all of this unfolded in such a short amount of time." End quote. Although the most popular stories surrounding possible advanced life forms tend to focus on the topics of people being taken during their sleep, sightings of advanced aircrafts, or supernatural occurrences featuring humanoid creatures, many researchers who've looked into this topic often forget that some of the strongest pieces of evidence of strange happenings appears to center around the disappearances of cattle and subsequent damages to livestock. The earliest known written record of bizarre animal surgeries and sudden disappearances of a large number of livestock comes from an official document dated sometime during the early 1600s, when an investigator for the court of James I of England claimed that impossible to explain mass expirations of sheep were being recorded all across London and nearby shires. It was originally believed that the sudden expirations of the sheep could have been caused by neighbouring farms competing in market production alongside hungry travellers that were committing theft as they travelled throughout London, of which was the most heavily populated region during the 1600s. When the investigations took place, evidence was found that seemed to reject the original hypothesis. According to the court investigator, the sheep were found to have expired through causes that were otherwise impossible to attribute to human activity. Their organs, meat, and fleece remained untouched, with only evidence of possible tallow removal, and blood having been completely drained from the animal with no spillage surrounding the animal. Even more difficult to explain was the sheer number of sheep that suddenly expired in what farmers believed would have been over the course of only a few hours. The investigator wrote that in some cases there were more than 100 sheep that suddenly expired, and no evidence of footprints, tracks, or spillage that could point towards a group of people having perpetrated the crime. When the investigator asked around local regions that were at the epicenter of the series of sheep disappearances and expirations, many attributed the sight of brilliant lights nearby to have been the possible cause. Some believed that the fireworks could have scared the sheep and caused them to pass away in fright, whereas others believed that the lights they had seen in the sky could have had a more sinister purpose. The court ended the investigation with the following comment: "Around the City of London and some of the shires adjoining, whole expirations of sheep have been made, in some places to number 100. Nothing is taken from the sheep but their tallow and some inward parts, the whole carcasses, and fleece remaining still behind." End quote. The phenomenon would continue for several decades before ending entirely. The most interesting aspect of these sheep disappearances is that they seem to bear remarkable resemblance to modern-day cattle disappearances. When researching mass livestock expirations, it became obvious that cattle disappearances and surgeries are a fairly recent development, with the first recorded instances beginning during the 1800s. A strange finding is that the sudden change of livestock being targeted, from sheep to now cattle, appears to match directly with the world market and primary source of meat production during these times. When sheep disappearances, surgeries, and unexplained expirations were occurring, the main meat export around the world centered around sheep populations. It's only been over the last couple of centuries that the role of cattle has slowly changed for the purpose of meat consumption. During the 1600s to the late 1700s, when recorded instances of sheep expirations were occurring, cattle were predominantly used for labor and secondarily used for milk production. Eating the meat of cattle creating leather from their hide or using their bones for objects, were only the product of cattle that had passed due to natural causes or old age. Could it be that whoever is behind these explorations switched from studying sheep from around the world to now modern-day cattle to better understand the main meat consumption diets of our entire species? The earliest known study into southern cattle explorations began in the state of Ohio back in 1966, when an investigator known as John Keel began to look into a series of unexplainable cases that were recorded around the upper Ohio River Valley. The cattle seemed to have passed away due to bizarre circumstances that were otherwise impossible to have occurred naturally. When these cases were looked into, it revealed that a number of cattle had passed away shortly after falling from a great height, despite the fact that the pastures were wide expanses of flat, endless land, with no heights great enough to have caused the injuries recorded. Other instances noted that the cattle appeared to have been cut with precision tools that created perfectly straight lines in their thick hide, which would have required special surgical equipment. A list of consistent findings were the following. Many of the livestock explorations were made with clean surgical cuts that would have required precise tools and equipment. Many of the cattle found had been completely drained of their fluids, showed no sign of spillage in the surrounding area, or any form of clotting surrounding their wounds. Over 90% of the cattle that were targeted was between the age of 4 to 5 years old. No footprints, spillage, tracks, or evidence of any other animal nearby could be found. These discoveries and subsequent livestock investigations stayed within the farming communities for several decades, without the general public aware of the events. This was until the 1970s, when investigations began to uncover bizarre findings. The first investigation that became publicized surrounding strange animal surgeries was the famous event known as the Lady Incident, that occurred on the 9th of September back in 1967. According to the King family, Harry King, the son of Agnes King, found their 3-year-old horse named Lady. The skin surrounding the head and neck of the animal had been completely removed, with cuts that were far too precise to have been caused by a predator. There was no vital fluid at the scene, and there were absolutely no tracks of any kind surrounding the body, including Lady's horse tracks that suddenly disappeared more than 100 feet from the body, as if the animal had been running but was lifted off the ground. Oddly enough, several small holes were punched into the ground as if there were sharp poles that carried a substantial weight that had landed nearby, and 2 large bushes had been found crushed completely flat. When the story surrounding the Lady incident was published in the local paper, it was the first ever recorded livestock investigation that had been associated with a possible otherworldly encounter. Following this, investigations grew to be far more peculiar. In June of 1976, when investigating the sudden exploration of a 3-year-old cow in Rio Arriba County of New Mexico, investigators discovered what was described as a trail of suction cup-like impressions that led away from the recovered body. These impressions in the ground appeared to be in a tripod form, with each cup being roughly 4 inches in diameter, 28 inches apart, and suddenly disappeared about 500 feet away from the young cow, with no other signs of tracks surrounding the animal. Although skeptics originally believed that the incident was playing off of heightened fears of mysterious encounters, with the perpetrator appearing to have used a contraption to have created the indentations, similar incidents with suction cup-like indentations would be found all across the state following the Rio Arriba incident. 2 years later, within the same state of New Mexico, a case involving an 11-month-old bull would bring the livestock investigations a substantial piece of evidence. According to the report made on the 24th of March back in 1978, Mr. Manuel Gomez alerted the New Mexican police of his prized 11-month-old bull having been the victim of a coordinated attack. When the police investigated the body, they found consistent details matching past investigations, such as precise cuts that could have been made only with precision instruments and surgical equipment, its organs completely removed, and a lack of blood to be found anywhere on the scene. On top of these consistent reports, the police found another peculiar aspect surrounding the bull when the team began looking at the organs for signs of predators of surgical markings. According to the New Mexican police officer, Gabriel Valdez was quoted as saying the following: "Both the liver and heart were white and mushy. Both organs had the texture and consistency of peanut butter." End quote. Although the police officer could not have known at the time what the discovery entailed, today, in the medical field, we are familiar with what are referred to as ghost hearts. A ghost heart is a heart that has been completely decellularized, with all of the red blood cells and blood vessels removed from the heart, giving it a white, almost transparent, ghostly appearance. The only time a human heart is turned into a ghost heart is to prepare the heart for a donor transplant to prevent the body from rejecting the heart due to incompatible blood cells, or a reaction from the antigens of the blood from the donor's cells. In essence, this means that the blood was drained from the animal to such an extent that the organs underwent a decellularization process. Shortly after this find, the Federal Bureau of Investigation took over the investigation and sent the organs to 2 independent private research laboratories to study the samples and bring back any information surrounding their chemical composition. In the research file, the FBI document outlines the following claims. The liver was checked against a healthy food market liver, which showed a difference. The bull's liver contained no copper and 4 times the amount of phosphorus, zinc, and potassium. No explanation for this condition is available. Also, the blood which came off of the nose when it was presumably dropped was light pink in color. This blood did not clot after several days. The hide on the animal was brittle and felt to touch like parchment paper. Flesh underneath the hide was pinkish in color. A probable explanation for the pinkish blood is a control type of radiation used to expire the animal. This was according to radiation experts. The red corpuscles are destroyed, leaving the pale pinkish color. All of the toxicology findings on blood are negative because of the dissemination of the radiation. It's believed that this type of radiation is not harmful to humans, although approximately 7 people who visited the site complained of nausea and headaches. End quote.
Scientists don't know why hundreds of birds are getting sick. Birds are a crucial part of the world's natural ecosystem. Without them, much would be lost. Now, scientists are racing to figure out why they are falling sick en masse to stop a potential tragedy from unraveling. In the Midwest and southern regions of the United States, birds are passing away and falling sick at alarming rates with no explicit explanation. An estimated 7 states are affected. Blue jays, European starlings, and grackles are among those most affected by the mysterious disease spreading through the bird world. According to avian biologist Kate Stankard of the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, we're experiencing an unusual amount of bird mortality this year. We have yet to figure out what the problem is. The condition seems to be pretty deadly. The sickly birds are found with puffy eyes, often crusted over with pus, and many suffer from seizures and suffer from an inability to stay balanced. Biologists who have examined the birds claim that they act blind even when they have perfectly healthy eyesight and are mentally or instinctively lacking. For example, they cease to fly away when approached, a common avian behavior that ensures their safety. This suggests the sickness removes a bird's self-preservation instincts, making it susceptible to external dangers. In Stankard's words, the birds often sit still, often kind of shaking. Stankard asserts that hundreds of birds across the United States are struggling with the mysterious illness and emphasizes the problem is no longer a minuscule one, but a nationwide issue which worsens each year. Biologists across America promise that they are doing all they can to uncover the cause of this phenomenon. A multi-state research group has formed in an attempt to research the sickness further and hopefully discover a cure to administer into the wild. Even when a cure is found, there is some speculation about how one might get it out into the ecosystem safely. Investigating the issue is time-consuming, requiring samples to be analyzed several times during lab tests to obtain definitive results, and often come back inconclusive. Theories have arisen as to what might have caused the illness. Wildlife biologist Laura Kearns poses that pesticides might be causing this widespread avian pandemic, and suggests she has heard other people claim a heightened population of cicadas are to blame. Pesticides have been known to negatively impact not only the insects they are made for, but larger ecosystems because mammals and birds feed on poisoned insects, causing the toxicity to affect them. This is not helped by the fact that many pesticides are outlawed in various countries around the world for their extreme toxicity. According to Kearns, in Ohio alone, hundreds of birds have been found, all perishing from the same cause, the unknown sickness. Despite the initial belief that the sickness was a return of the infamous avian influenza, all tests to prove this have come back negative. This illness is something entirely new, and scientists are unprepared. Sick birds from Kentucky have since been sent for analysis at the University of Georgia to be tested by the Southeastern Cooperative Wildlife Disease Study. New Mexican wildlife biologists have also begun reporting abrupt avian fatalities and a shocking decline in their populations. By now, the total avian population loss across America might have reached far beyond 100,000. Unusual animal behavior preceding the 2011 Japan earthquake. Earthquakes are terrifying. As all forces of nature, they destroy all in their wake and can cause many casualties, not to mention millions, if not billions of dollars worth of damaged property. Yet, to add to their terror, animals have been spotted behaving in mysterious ways when earthquakes are about to occur. It's long been known that animals sense oncoming natural disasters, and some scientists believe animal behavior can be analyzed to predict when and where such earthquakes might happen, as it's difficult to predict natural disasters. The specifics as to how these animals know danger is coming or why are not yet definitively known. In 2011, on March 11th, a terrible earthquake took place in Japan and gave researchers much insight into the phenomenon. An estimated 20,000 people perished or disappeared that day, highlighting it as a dark day in Japanese history. Researchers investigated animal behavior prior to the earthquake, and their questionnaires uncovered that several hundred pet owners in the region experienced strange behavioral patterns in their animals before the disaster. Cat and dog owners were questioned respectively, and 351 out of 1,962 pets were reported to behave strangely. The odd behaviors included increased restlessness, a factor linking all the cases. Cows were also investigated, and research revealed that cows yielded less milk the closer they were to the earthquake's epicenter a week before the earthquake occurred. The fact that animal behaviors were a minority and not a majority brings some doubt to the idea that animal instincts can be used to predict earthquakes, but researchers believe that the project shows promise. Whereas the cow's milk yield fell the week leading up to the natural disaster, the cats and dogs behaved agitated and restless on the day of or the day before the earthquake. Owners reported symptoms of biting owners, panic, barking loudly, hiding, climbing high trees, meowing pathetically, and taking kittens outside. In 1995, a similar study was conducted in Japan before the Great Hanshin earthquake. In that report, over half of the pet owners declared strange animal behaviors. Mice in Kobe, one of the cities affected by the earthquake, began fleeing the region en masse the day before. The same thing happened with birds and insect populations, though they fled an estimated hour before the earthquake. It's believed that because animals, dogs and cats especially, can hear sounds inaudible to humans and feel frequencies, they are aware of incoming disasters. Animals have been found to be more sensitive to the natural world regarding changes in the atmosphere and gravity. It's speculated that earthquakes possess physical attributes, such as the release of carbon monoxide and ultra-low frequencies which alert animals to brewing trouble. Scientists discover a continent that had been missing for 375 years. Continents are massive. It might come as a surprise then that scientists recently found a brand new continent hidden away for hundreds of years. A group of geoscientists uncovered the continent of Zealandia, known in the Maori tongue as Turua Maui. The continent has been recorded but seemingly faded from history books. The continent is believed to have been connected to Gondwana, a supercontinent that existed an estimated 500 million years ago and encompassed a massive portion of both Australia and Antarctica. The very first mention of the continent in the Western world comes from Abel Tasman, a Dutch merchant and sailor from 1642. Tasman remarked his desire to find a mysterious Great Southern Continent in hopes of etching his name into history, a task he struggled with. He had a conflict with the Maori, but was informed by the tribes that a giant landmass resided in the east. Despite Tasman's endless travels, he never uncovered the mythic Great Southern Continent. In 2017, that changed. At some point in history, billions of years ago, the continent tore away from the supercontinent of Gondwana for reasons yet unknown by scientists. At long last, 375 years after Tasman's journey, the continent was finally found. There has been speculation surrounding the mysterious and fabled Zealandia long before its finding. Only now do scientists agree in its existence, all those millions of years ago. Most of Zealandia is flooded, the murky depths concealing it all this time. Yet once the underwater landmass was investigated, it led scientists to wonder why they had not realized its existence sooner. Currently, researchers are trying to etch the history of Zealandia onto paper, to map its existence, its separation from Gondwana, and its downfall into the endless oceanic depths. According to scholar Nick Mortimer, if you think about it, every continent on the planet has different countries on it, but there are only 3 territories on Zealandia. The continent's strangeness adds to its scientific and geological appeal. Our world is a bizarre place, so we can never truly know what lurks in the skies or beneath the waves.
A few years back, a mysterious object could be seen opening up in the sky above Russia. The man who captured the footage said that an object could be seen forming in the sky, and then detailed that the object emitted a bright light, after which a smaller object could be seen flying out of it. The bizarre encounter left the man confused about what he had just witnessed, and in order to show his friends what he had seen, he decided to take some photographs so that he could analyze them at a later date. The man said that the object on the left was emitting a bright light, and that a smaller dark object could be seen inside it, describing it as looking like a large orb that was dark in color. As he watched the event unfold, he said that it made no noise and didn't match a plane or a helicopter, saying that he couldn't explain how the smaller, darker object flew out of the initial object. When the photographs were shared online, people gave their opinions on what they thought it could be. Suggestions ranged from rocket launches to mysterious aircrafts. Oddly enough, there weren't any launches in the area at the time of the encounter, which caused the eyewitness to suggest that it belonged to something unknown. Another user suggested that it was a wormhole, or that the man had witnessed a rare atmospheric phenomena. Interestingly, around the same time, it was reported that fighter jets had been scrambled throughout the area, and some of these reports have come from military officials and pilots themselves. For example, in 2012, a Russian fighter jet was scrambled to investigate a mysterious aircraft that had been detected on radar. The pilot reported that the object was a glowing orb that was moving at an incredible speed. The pilot attempted to intercept the object, but it disappeared before he could get close. In 2017, Russian media reported that jets had been scrambled to intercept several mysterious aircrafts that had been detected over the Black Sea. The reports claimed that the objects were moving at incredible speeds and were able to evade the fighter jets. There have also been reports of military officials investigating mysterious aircrafts. In 2014, the Russian Ministry of Defense launched a special department to investigate these sightings. The department is staffed by military officials and scientists, and is tasked with investigating any sightings that are reported. One of the most famous incidents of a Russian fighter jet encountering a mysterious object occurred in 1989. A Soviet MiG-29 fighter jet was scrambled to investigate a strange aircraft that had been detected on radar. The pilot reported that he had encountered a large, saucer-shaped object that was emitting a bright light. The object was able to evade the fighter jet and disappeared before any further investigation could be conducted. These incidents have raised questions about whether the Russian government has knowledge of or involvement with these objects. Some theorists have suggested that the government has made contact with advanced beings and is working with them in secret, but as of right now, officials deny these claims and have said that the majority of these sightings can be explained. However, some fighter jet pilots have admitted that these aircrafts do have the ability to outmaneuver them, which has led to a series of questions being put forward by the general public. As of right now, while there have been reports of Russian fighter jets being scrambled to investigate these mysterious objects, officials have said that there is no concrete evidence to support the claims that these aircrafts belong to anything advanced. Interestingly, these mysterious orbs, also known as Foo Fighters, are a type of unidentified object that are typically described as small, glowing spheres of light. They have been reported by pilots, astronauts, and even everyday people for decades, with sightings dating back to World War II. One of the most famous cases of these orb sightings occurred during World War II, when Allied pilots reported seeing strange, glowing objects flying alongside their planes, detailing that it was almost as if these mysterious objects were inspecting their planes, and said that before they could fly towards them, they would shoot off at incredible speeds. These objects were dubbed Foo Fighters by the pilots, and their presence was often unnerving and mysterious, with many pilots detailing that they had no idea what they were. Some pilots reported that the orbs would follow their planes for long periods of time, performing aerial maneuvers that were beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. In more recent times, these orb sightings have continued to occur, with many witnesses reporting seeing glowing spheres of light in the sky. These orbs have been described as being anywhere from the size of a basketball to as small as a golf ball, and they often appear to move in an intelligent and deliberate manner. Despite the prevalence of orb sightings, there is still much debate among scientists and researchers about what these objects could be. Some believe that they are simply natural phenomena, such as ball lightning or other types of atmospheric anomalies. However, others suggest that they may be evidence of advanced activity. One theory is that these orbs are actually some type of advanced drone technology, developed by either a government or private organization. It is possible that these drones are being used for surveillance purposes, or even for military operations, and interestingly, they have been observed in areas with high security, leading some researchers to speculate whether an unknown group is responsible for them. Another possibility is that these orbs are indeed extraterrestrial in origin, and that they represent some type of reconnaissance or exploration mission. If this is the case, then it is possible that these orbs could be controlled remotely by an advanced civilization, or that they are being piloted by some type of artificial intelligence. As of right now, orb sightings continue to fascinate and mystify people around the world. While some dismiss these reports as mere hoaxes or misidentifications, others believe that they represent evidence of something truly extraordinary. Those who investigate these sightings have said that orb sightings are one of the most commonly reported aircraft, and over the years, pilots and eyewitnesses have been left confused by their sightings, saying that these mysterious objects have no visible propulsion system and are completely silent. One mystery is that every time these objects are photographed, they appear blurry, leading some researchers to say that these aircrafts might have the ability to interfere with electronics, which could explain why it's so difficult to capture them on camera. As of right now, what they are, how they are able to achieve what they do, and who they belong to remains a mystery.